Welcome to Hortculture, where a group of extension professionals and plant people talk about the business, production, and joy of planting seeds and helping them grow. Join us as we explore the culture of horticulture. Has anybody got any nerdy, magazines? Do you have a nerdy magazine that still comes to your door that you
I
enjoy?
do. I actually do. Blue
What
Ridge
is it?
Magazine. It's not plugging that magazine, but I love going to half price books and used bookstores looking for old magazines. It doesn't matter, but a subscription I still get is I think it's Blue Ridge Magazine. It's just a magazine about the Blue Ridge area of the United States. And yeah,
Oh,
it's a
wow.
physical paper magazine. And I still love those, but anymore I probably read more old copy stuff on magazines that I get at like used bookstores, or in our public library has a magazine exchange, and I take my old Blue Ridge magazines and I swap them out for National Geo or,
Oh, that's so
Field and
super cool.
Stream or whatever.
Libraries are the
So
best.
yeah, I
Can
do.
you
I love our local library. It's got a very cool program, and I love it. I don't even have to buy
can
those. I
you
just swap out.
can you explain the allure of that, Ray, of the old magazines and the why for you?
Part of it is nostalgia, but and I'd get e-magazines on my iPad. But the problem with the iPad is, it's got pros and cons, but it's a very personal thing for me. I'll get a notification, I'll get derailed off into email or some kind of direct message when I want to kind of detox and unplug for a minute, just 15 minutes is it's good for me personally to go analog sometimes. And I love the feel of the pages, and it's kind of like books that I've had this discussion with you guys, I think, before. It's the difference between an e-reader and a dedicated book. I mean, both have their place and both are amazing and awesome. Magazines are the same way for me. I just
Mm.
love the feel. I love to go down at the end of the garden next to the creek, and I love to just crack open the magazine, sit in the Adirondack chair, and it's my zone. And I leave my phone like out of hand's reach when I do that. And I really enjoy that. And I don't get a current subscription, but there was an old magazine. I think it was called Ideals magazine.
Mm.
And I probably spammed you guys with photos and, inspirational things out of that in the past. But, just magazines. And so I do a lot of diving on eBay and used bookstores for older magazines. And I'll read those and go through those and keep the ones I really enjoy and just put the
Any
rest back
particular
into the snow.
genres of old magazines?
I love outdoor type magazines, nature magazines. I'm a big fan of National Geographic. I always loved those things growing up. My family would go to flea markets and just get big boxes of old magazines. And at that time, National Geographic, the yellow books, the
Uh-huh.
small base magazines were one of the most common ones that we would get for
Uh-huh.
whatever reason
Yeah.
at, flea markets and places like that, or peddlers malls. And I just loved when mom would bring home this big box of old magazines, and I would love it. But Field and Stream was an absolute favorite. I would love anything Field and Stream, and love National Geo. That was two that I would commonly get and love those. Yeah. So I do love a good hard copy of a magazine. How about you guys?
Yeah, what about you, Alexis?
For an actual magazine that I get Cut Flower Quarterly. Surprise, surprise. But that's one of the benefits of being a member of the Association of Cut Flower Growers is you get a quarterly magazine
Is it
with
like a slick
research
magazine,
and
beautiful pictures? And is it a slick
oh yeah,
magazine?
always
Like,
gorgeous
oh yeah, gotcha.
pictures, but really good articles. They do a great job with that magazine. I've never I don't know, I've liked the Nat Geos, but I'm a magazine flipper. I flip through the whole thing. I don't know how everybody else is, but I flip through the whole thing and I look to see what's interesting, and then I go back and read it.
The
That's
first
my
pass. Yeah.
process. But yeah, it's a great magazine. It's got a little bit of everything in it, and research and new plants to look, that are coming out on the market, and just tales and they have these different regions, and you have like a chair or whatever for that region, and they'll reach out to growers to get stories or something, and it's a way to build community even just through a magazine, to know like other people are dealing with something similar to you in your region or whatever. But yeah, I don't know, I saw it came in little while ago, and I was rearranging stuff, and I have my stack because they're all really pretty, right? My stack of cut flower quarterlies, and I was like, oh, this is like my one nerdy magazine that I get where I just get to like sit down and flip through it, and it's nice
It's
to
almost
just be
like an
able to.
indulgence. Does it feel like
Mhm.
that? Like an
It does.
indulgence?
Yeah, it does
Yeah.
feel a little bit like an indulgence. Like I can either drink
Mhm.
my coffee or, whatever throughout the day, and a little you time. It's different from like a book. It's just it seems more low key in a way. So, yeah. What about you, Brett?
I don't have any magazines. I spend all my time grinding, just hustling,
In the hustle,
staying
yeah.
on the
I don't
24.
indulge in anything besides
Yeah,
work.
Even no
indulgence to
digital
me, it
magazines?
sounds like
Yeah.
weakness.
It's
No, I actually
antithetical to
don't.
the
I don't
hustle.
know that I have any more like physical magazines that come to the house. The most recent one that I canceled it probably a couple years ago is called the Fretboard Journal, and it was about it was a
Oh,
guitar
guitar
journal, like
magazine.
really high production value. Like it's a quarterly but thick, like bound, kind of almost like a
Mm,
lookbook type
Oh,
of
like a
feel.
coffee
mhm.
table book
Yeah,
or
yeah,
magazine,
not
yeah.
quite, but close, and it
Mhm.
was cool. I just found that a lot of the articles and stuff. So the reality is, unfortunately, that the world of guitar is mostly inhabited by old dudes now, and so a lot of the content is kind of tailored to old dudes as well. And while people who know me might be surprised that that's actually not my thing, it
Tell me more
in
about your coin collection.
Yeah. Stamps and
I
coins.
have the interests, but like the articles and content of some of the stuff, like a lot of it, I don't know. They do a good job of featuring new artists and stuff, but there's kind of some glory days and kind of just a implicit nostalgia for a time that before I was born, before any of us were born.
Yeah.
That is kind of in the guitar world in general. So anyway, that's a long way around of saying I don't get that magazine anymore, but it was a cool one. You guys
I
remember
was always
Highlights
shocked.
magazines?
Oh, yeah, loved it.
Yes.
Loved it. Yeah.
That was
Some of the
that
Let's
was
make
best
an
if I could
memories.
get
extension
that again.
version of that.
What's that?
Yeah.
An extension version of that.
There
It's
is one, or we should
really
have
appreciate.
one.
We
We should
should
have
have that.
one.
And it
Yeah.
needs to be that newspaper print too,
hmm
Mhm.
like a good highlights,
Good
magazine.
texture. Yeah.
I always remember the things where you would follow like the knot, or it was
Yeah.
follow the
Mhm.
line,
Little puzzles.
either like slides, that they were
Mhm.
overlapping, and you had to follow them and try to figure out, how
Which
that.
one
So
was
that
the
was
way
when
out?
my magazine experience peaked with Highlights, I think.
I know when Reed was a bit younger, I mean, he's going into middle school. My son is this year, which is hard for me to believe. Time passes so quick. But one thing that I loved was book fairs, and those are still going on, you guys. Book
Mhm.
hmm
fairs, and I mean, I was more giddy than my son at any one point. We'd go into the book fair, and I'm like, "Well, get this one." It was really for me. I mean, like, there's all these cool National Geo books are still there, and books about nature and butterflies and adventures, you know, out and about. But yeah, book fairs. When you
So
mentioned Highlights, it reminded me
I have a
of
theory about that I have not tested or examined, so it's probably wrong. But I feel like
working theory.
when we were younger and we went to the book fair, the feeling of having a space that was so intensely marketed to us as children was like really
Mhm.
novel to us.
Mhm.
Mm.
But I feel like the kids these days, they're like so heavily marketed to pretty much all the time
Mhm.
that it feels less novel. Like it's just I remember just thinking this is a weird space where like you can buy stuff and it's set up to appeal to me as a child. And I remember I'd get the poster or the folder or whatever of like the Dodge
Brett,
Viper or
it
something
is
like that.
still that. The Dodge Viper is still on the
Oh,
poster, and
hell
if
yeah.
to take your quarters that you haven't spent otherwise, they still have pencils and erasers. Brett,
hmm
the format is still the same. And it's
So
beautiful.
what's happening
Aw.
with this, it sounds like, is that like what I said about the guitar stuff, Reed is like, oh, the book fair is for all these boomers who remember the Dodge Vipers and they just want to go and get they're like it's kind of an old guy's game now.
I don't know, man. The energy at those book fairs, there's a little bit of
They
like
loved it.
blood in the
Okay.
water energy. feeding
Yeah.
frenzy. These kids, the parents were like, okay, I'm cutting you off at $150. Like, I mean, the
Oh,
fervor of
wow.
these kids going in there, the energy in that room, and it is slam packed. Every single one I've been to, which is kind of shocking. I know, but at least at his school, they were always jam packed with huge lines, 5 people
Oh, I
checking people
see.
out,
I see. I
and lots of
misunderstood.
energy. No,
I
the
thought you were
energy
saying
never
that
was
went
Reed and
with
his
my
friends were not that
parents.
into it.
no. Reed, the energy was there, and Reed has 3 little individual libraries, one upstairs, one on the middle floor, and he's taking up
Wow.
some of my room in the basement for books. I mean, he's got quite a collection, but I don't
Yeah,
know what it is.
we went
Yeah,
during school. Is
it
that what you
won't.
were saying,
Yeah, we
Alexis?
went
Yes.
during school,
Well, it's
but
during
there was no
school.
parents.
There's that's one session, okay. The big session is when they let the parents come with them because then they get our energy and
That's a
money
smart
as
move.
well. So
It's a
there's
smart
always 2
move.
Yeah, very smart.
opportunities. Yeah, marketing.
Very
But
smart.
no, apparently print is
A
alive
book
and
fair is like
well.
independence, right? Like
It will,
you're
yeah.
not like your
Your
mom
first
gives
taste of
you a crisp
consumerism.
10 or 20 and you get
Yeah.
to spend it the way you want and it's in your pocket and it's in a store that's meant for you. So it was just independence, I feel like.
Did you guys get the
Um,
little pre-runner to that? You had the little where you could check out all the books and stuff and the little leaflets.
yeah.
Yeah.
They taunted you.
Yeah.
This
They
Scholastic
is what
book
you can
fairs.
expect.
they
It's
need
good
to
stuff.
market like a shirt or something of like, so as you have parents coming back. I don't know how many years it's been since your first book fair as a child, Ray, but
First
like
grade.
they need
Mm.
to market like 35-year book fair veteran or like 40-year, and I bet they could sell those to the parents like
Hey,
crazy.
if they had a pin for that, I'd be the first in line to buy it. My
Yeah,
commemorative pins,
exactly.
yeah. Because I mean, I got caught up in that energy and I wasn't the only one in the room. Parents were being very nostalgic and I talked to multiple people that I did not know and we were all excited to be there and talked about the old book fairs that we were a part of.
Yeah.
So the more things change, Brett, I guess sometimes the more they stay the same. So
It's a
those
little,
book fairs, I mean, they still have lots of energy and lots of juice behind them. So
well, as
yeah.
indicated, my theory was wrong because I basically it was on like incorrect premises. I thought the kids were not into it, and you were, but everyone was into it.
Yeah, and I think the parents got even more into it when they saw that their kids. I think it was a synergy kind of thing. You
Mm.
know, they one
Feed
fed off the
each
other
other.
kind of thing. Yeah,
Yeah.
but I don't know. It was a packed room. That's the only indicator I had for these events, and the lines were always very long, and they had multiple checkout stations. So
Well, and
yeah,
another thing that's yeah, and I bet we could talk about book fairs the entire episode. Maybe that's what people would prefer. Um, like
that'll be the other podcast.
the idea of buying something physically in person has more of a novelty to it now than it did.
Hmm.
Like
Hmm.
you had to go somewhere to physically buy everything back
Mhm.
when I was
Yeah.
going to the book fairs, which I mean was a long time ago, but not that long ago.
No.
Um, and now the idea of like even going and physically and like using cash is another thing that's more novel now. I
It's one
still
thing I
am.
don't miss is making change and using cash, but not, it is very novel. I heard Reed with his friends talking the other day, and it was him being so retro because he was buying games on disc, and he thinks that's the coolest thing ever. Everything's
Mhm,
digital downloads now, instant downloads. And all of his buddies come over and they play his disc based games, and it's
mhm.
and I heard him talking to them. He said it's about the process, man. You actually get to go and talk to other gamers at GameStop. I think GameStop was the store he had last was at, and they were like, "What? Why don't you get your games on Steam or these online platforms?" He goes, "I do, but it's not as fun. It's not real, man." And he was having this whole conversation. I was
Not
so
real,
proud.
man.
He said, I talked to 3 different gamers at the game store, and I was like, yes, yeah, remember the
Yeah,
community.
I can't imagine.
Remember
I
the
can't
community.
imagine that coming up in a household with you and Jen that he would be excited to get out and talk to people about stuff that they're passionate about and just get
Um, I mean,
excited
there's no
together with other
restraining
Right?
orders
people.
on our
Shocking.
Where does
son
that come
yet.
from?
So
Where does
yeah,
that come from? You never
I
know.
mean, more things
Um,
change, man.
well, you said the energy.
Yeah.
Getting caught up in the energy at the book fair. I have been feeling in the world, the outdoor world in particular, a lot of energy. I feel like we're in this like swirling, almost peak of energetic heat,
We're in the
and
dog days, correct? Is that correct?
I don't know. I
I
mean,
think we're at
maybe
the dog
the
days, the
puppy
12th or
days,
3rd, something. Yeah.
the young dog days. It'll grow over but like the plants seem to be kind of, they're like on the verge of being like, can we chill yet? It goes from like yes,
Literally
yes,
and
yes, yes, yes
figuratively.
to okay, it's kind of warm,
Yeah.
kind of humid.
My
Is
plants
that
are looking
how's
ready.
your all's peak of summer been?
Oh, it's been an interesting year with a lot of moisture early, and now we've had extended periods of lots of hot weather. We've had some rains here and there, but I don't know. Stuff as having like lots of leaf spots for me. Now at this point, Reed, our son, I mentioned him earlier. He's growing like zinnias that he's selling to the neighborhood, and we've put him several, pretty good sized patches of zinnias out. But they all have leaf spots, and they have all these diseases I'm normally not worried about with zinnias, and the foliage is looking real bad. It's looking a little tired on the Tackett homestead here
Yeah.
lately. Looking, I mean, I don't know, is that true for you guys? Things are looking a little tired for
What do you
me.
attribute the
Yeah,
leaf spot to? Oh, sorry.
my
Sorry.
shrubs are feeling the heat, feeling we really haven't had rain, and if we do, it's
A little
so
spotty.
aggressive that like really none of it is seeping in and becoming beneficial
Yeah.
to the plants besides just raising the humidity.
Hmm.
But yeah, everything's looking kind of sad. I'm starting to think about putting irrigation on stuff, like putting a sprinkler on stuff that I don't have
Hmm.
drip on. And then, yeah, all of the earlier planted stuff has kind of hit its peak and is on the other side of the bell curve coming down with, leaf spots and powdery mildew.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
I know I'm already thinking about and taking notes of all the things I want to do differently next year, all the things I still need to do for this year. It's always just living in the future, man.
So is this like I realize, the idea is you're constantly thinking about what comes next or what you're going to do next. It's just sort of a rotating thing. But do you feel like this is a like natural break point in the year of not
Mm,
taking a break, but like of
Mhm. Mhm.
behind you is the primary growing season of 2025, ahead of you is the rest of it plus the upcoming, like is this about the time of
yeah,
year where you're
yeah.
thinking that way?
August always feels like the transition month to me where like you have planted everything that is going to bloom for this year, and then August is kind of the month where I feel like I mentally grapple all the things that have to happen because nothing has to happen this month, if that makes sense. Like this is just kind of prep work to get yourself ready for fall planting, for all of that kind of stuff. But August, there's just like nothing that has to be done this month, at least in my world. And I think in a lot of vegetable world, like maybe you're starting some seeds, but you might have probably started those end of July, but you're ordering stuff. Like there's stuff being done, but it's just like on the farm itself. It's just, I feel like it's just like keeping things alive. Like August is keeping things
Yeah.
alive and preparing for the next step, which is like September is when that like kicks into gear again. Um,
Mhm.
I feel like it's pretty similar in the veggie world and even the fruit world, right? Like I'm trying to think of what fruit we have locally that we're harvesting right now. Any
Yeah.
Nothing,
Well,
right?
I mean, a lot of it seems like, especially like in
Maybe some
orchards and
blackberries
stuff,
still.
yeah,
Yeah,
there's
maybe
stuff out
blackberry
there, but
still.
it's almost like when's the switch? When does that switch in people's minds, like as consumers, particularly when you mention like orchards and fruit and things like that, like
Mhm.
that fall vibe starts to hit. It's almost like Mariah Carey. We expect to hear that, the Christmas vibe descend
It's
upon
time,
us.
yeah.
What's the fall vibe? Is it Jack the Pumpkin King that starts singing his song and it descends on us? But I don't know. I'm with you, Alexis. It feels like a transition period, and that's a little different for some producers, of course, that have
Mhm.
protected, areas like high tunnels or greenhouses. But
Sure. It's not that there's
yeah,
nothing happening, it's
well,
just
there's
that, like,
still lots going
the
on.
very active part of your brain that is, in the spring you're for a lot of people with those protected structures, they're harvesting, they're planting, they're prepping, they're doing like from A to Z the full scope of the farm. And in the
Mhm.
fall it's the full scope of the farm too, where
Yeah.
August, end of July, into August is more like you're only doing the harvesting, you're only reaping and kind of keeping things alive. You're not planting and this and this and this, starting seeds, blah, blah, blah. It seems to just kind of be like a second for you to catch your breath, which is
Yeah.
weird to think of it in the summer because that's when things are usually at their peak for a lot of people. But like, it's much easier to just go through and harvest and sell the stuff than it is to harvest, sell, plant, seed, all these other things that go into it. And so that's where like the brain kind of takes a second and starts thinking about what's next. To
And
me, I don't know.
just the calls that come into an extension office, this is a natural break point this time of year here in Kentucky. For me, it always has been the difference between a home grower and a commercial grower. Home growers that may not have a very rigorous disease control program, everything's in even more
Mm,
decline naturally, and that's fine. That suits their goals. It's an intentional sort of thing that they may not be spraying a lot for whatever. But commercial growers are still, if something looks good on a commercial farm, it looks good because of intention and
right.
planning and a deliberate effort. So you still have these commercial operations going. Of course, gangbusters are selling, and they have all these
Hmm.
things going on. But for homeowners, I find that it's different. I don't work with a tremendous amount of homeowners, and I haven't over the years that do fall gardening for whatever reason. But I
Mm-hmm.
kind of get that by this time of the
They're
year, you're hot
tired.
and you're
School
tired.
starts.
Yes,
Yeah.
school starts is a big one, for people that may have school age children. They're occupied with other things and the seasonality's kicked in. It's
Hmm.
like, well, those veggies out in the home garden, they've had a good run, but we're done. Having a fall garden for just home growers has always been a tough sell for me, even though I have those classes from time to time. And we talk about, growing transplants, and you should have done your broccoli back in July, started we talk about all those topics, but this is a natural period of the year that's a break point that highlights the differences between home growers and commercial producers.
Hmm.
Commercial producers, because they have all these additional inputs and intentions for their crops, they're still going good.
Right.
For the most part, they still look good. The vine crops, I mean, vine crops for homeowners this time of year, not so good usually. Commercial producers,
Squash
usually if
bugs
they've
got
done it
into
good,
them.
yeah, yeah. Commercial producers are the only ones with good looking vine crops this time of
The
year, typically.
zucchinis are now like 8 pounds each because they've
Yeah,
stopped
yeah.
harvesting them.
And they've sent the relay back to the vine, "Stop producing because you've missed the
Yeah.
zucchini." Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So for me, that's this time of year. That's why it's a transition time of year for me, um, from that aspect.
The and it's yeah, I think there's just like a rest time if you are commercial or even if you're homeowner and you're like, okay, I'm done for the year, but what can I do to make next year better or something like that? I think it's a good time to start thinking about what you might need. And so like, I always go to it's a great time to buy a lot of that stuff you need for the fall. Like cover crop, like garlic if you want to plant garlic. Um and also like seed ordering. I think a lot of us think of
I was
seeds,
gonna say,
purchasing seeds in the January, but number one, you can get some really good discounts if you buy them before the end of the year. And those seeds will, be good still for the spring. So if you're thinking, oh, I know I want to grow this lettuce again, or I know I want to grow this type of zinnia again, ordering now can save you money. But also you're more likely to get that seed, right? So a lot of them are sold out even by January and February now. So it's just a thought there on thinking proactively now with assuming you have some brain space for it because you're not doing all of the early season stuff. You have some brain space to start thinking a little more proactively.
I call it adult book fair season. That's what seed catalogs are. That's the book fair for
Beautiful
for
segue.
adults. I mean, it really is. I mean, we were talking about the book fair earlier, and I kept thinking, but we all get seed catalogs, but we're not talking about those as magazines. And they're some of my
Mm.
favorites. I didn't count those, but maybe we should have talked about that angle a little bit. When do
Uh-huh.
seeds catalog? Don't they start showing up? I mean, I know commercial catalogs are in a different schedule, release schedule than
Mhm.
more home geared magazines. But once those things start showing up, it's an exciting time. It's exciting.
Mhm. Yeah, and that's early. Or like if you're a homeowner and you want to plant some new shrubs, if you're in Kentucky and you're wanting to plant some new shrubs in your home, landscape, fall is from 90%, I would say, of the shrubs we plant in Kentucky they prefer to be planted in the fall rather than in the spring. So again, you can get a good discount on them because a lot of them are just going on sale right now. But you can also make sure that they're more successful by planting them in the fall. So go out there. Like I just mulched my front beds, and one thing that like I know really like took the time to notice while I was mulching was my beds look great. The plants that are in them are really healthy, but they're all spring bloomers. And so like spring into June. And so right now everything is just green, which, is nice, but I'd like to have some more color in there for the summer and for the fall. And so what did I do? I went to the store and I found something on sale that will be blooming in the in the summer or the fall to put in there. And so just those little things are nice to
Yeah.
observe this time of year, I think.
It's also, we talked about like adult book fair season, but for me, it is what I call busted bag season. It's when I start to go around to the local box stores and they know me my name now. And I'm like, so do you have any mulch or raised bed soil that has busted? I ask for busted bags, and the timing is critical. Okay. Because first of all,
You're giving everybody your secret. You're not going to
I
find it
know,
anymore.
I'm really messing this up. I live in on the West Coast, by the way. Don't Not in Central Kentucky. No, but this time of year, I start to. And you mentioned deals at local garden centers. These are the time of year that I look for potting soil, particularly because it is so expensive, and you
Mhm.
sometimes you can get end of season deals on those things.
Mhm.
But I think more and more people, there's more competitors. I've scoped them out. I see them back in, driving their truck around behind Lowe's, and I'm like, no, you don't. But it is pretty good time of year to get deals on certain things, because I don't think people are thinking about putting their deciduous shrubs and
Mhm.
trees in this time of year, even though it's the best time.
Yeah.
And not only soil and mulch and things like that, but sometimes you can get a better deal this time of year. So I encourage people
Yeah.
not to
Well,
give
yeah,
up.
and your farm, your supplies too. So
Mhm.
like if you're
Yeah.
as you're going around and, looking at stuff and you go, "Oh, I want to put in a new bed," or whatever, you look and say, "Oh, I don't have any drip tape. I'm going to need to go
Yeah.
make sure you get some of that." Again, a lot of the time there are deals if you buy it before the beginning of the year because it's for tax reasons for businesses, blah 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 blah. So just being a little bit like proactive, taking that, we always say take the notebook with you or your phone or whatever you like to take little notes on, and while you have a little bit of room in your brain, take some of those proactive notes about things you want to buy, and hopefully you've got fall income if you're a farm, and can grab some of those things before the beginning of the year, and then you can put that on your taxes as expenses. So
Yeah.
Yeah, I think in
Uh,
general, this time of year where you're talking about, on the production side of a lot of things, you're keeping it alive and waiting for the next step in September and into October. It's a time, most people, well, some people do it on an ongoing basis, but some people might be a nice moment to just make sure that the expenses and
Mhm.
the receipts and the all those things that
Mhm.
may be piled up on the in the armrest or the dash of the truck
Yeah.
or crumpled up and thrown in that shoebox or whatever, just to take a look at those and make sure that
Yeah.
you've input things. And because if it's really hot outside and you're gonna get out of the heat for a little while, but you
Mhm.
want to do something
Hopefully.
toward that
mhm.
business, in addition to the production considerations, there's also just the business side and the kind of the record keeping side of things.
Totally.
That I read something yesterday that was talking about how, with it being so hot and these heat domes and things that we're having, that it's almost that summer ends up becoming like winter, where
Mhm.
we
Yeah.
spend more time inside than
Mhm.
anything else, and
Yeah.
Mhm.
winter's the time when we tend to think about going through those records and that type of stuff on the business side. And
Oh, that's a
I think
really good point.
in my neck of the woods, it's all about just watering, 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 watering,
Mhm.
watering. Um, and luckily, we've had a decent amount of rain off and on this summer. It hasn't been nearly as dry as it has been in some years past, but it is amazing how much water and of course I'm
Yeah.
the moron that grows plants in pots almost exclusive. Well, that's not true. I have a bunch in the ground too, but um,
But you have a lot of
I have a
potted
lot
plants,
of
and I
plants
feel
in
that.
pots.
Containers are
I
dry.
feel
I mean,
that so hard.
it's almost daily in containers now. It's incredible, depending on the
Mine is
specific
definitely
plant.
daily, and they're
Daily,
wilted by the time I get to them.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and I look and I'm like, how is the potting soil shrinking away from the walls of the container? I just watered you yesterday evening,
Mhm.
and that's the next day. So yeah,
Well, it's
yeah,
this really interesting. And I think it tracks with the enthusiasm thing. But like early in the season, people are enthusiastic about their gardens, and they are watering them often when they do not need to be watered.
Mhm.
They're worried about it, and the reason for that is, we're at the worst time of the year for the evapotranspiration, or well, I guess best
Mm.
if you're a fan of evapotranspiration.
If you like things to be dry
If
and
you're
wiggly,
if you're a fan of evapotranspiration, you're in the peak of your
you're in
season
your
right now,
season.
Raise
and
your hand.
and that is the amount of water that is just evaporating. Just because it's hot out and it just dry. You put a
Mhm.
glass of water outside and it's gone. It's evaporated, and then also the amount that's passing through the plant and coming out through the plant. It's losing water, transpiring really, really
Yeah,
rapidly, and
yeah.
it's unbelievable. Every year it's like almost a
Mhm.
shock of just how drastically more the plants, I mean, we do too, I guess, need to drink more water, but how much more water they seem to need. And also how awesome the native plants are
Mhm.
Yeah, they
when
look
it's so
good
dry.
right now.
So yeah,
This is the first
those are
time
the
it's crazy. It's crazy.
well,
My
and the other, and
lawn, this is
I'll
the
just
first
I'll,
time.
I'll I'll pitch in one more thought here, just in a more existential vein, I guess, is that we think about August, and like I always think of August as like the hottest month, and maybe it statistically is, but like day
Mhm.
length wise, we're over a
On the
month
downward.
on the down, like into
On
the
the
6 month
downswing, yeah.
downward swing, and so
Mhm.
it's the tail of the whip, or whatever, I don't know what the term is, but that like the movement happened, and we won't feel the cooling off and everything necessarily, but
Mhm,
you can start to feel that shortening, and so for
mhm.
Mhm.
me, I think that's an interesting aspect of August, is that it's both, we're already into the senescence of the year, but it still
Mhm.
feels like, whoa, we were carrying a lot of speed coming into this turn, and we still have it in the heat and in the plants and everything else. But I was curious, just real quick, very specifically, Ray, like, what do you attribute? You say you have more leaf spot and more stuff on the zinnias
Mhm.
than you would have expected. Has that been the case for you too? Like, more, Alexis, more disease pressure this year, or
Um, I planted a lot of my stuff later to avoid this, so they're not
Mhm.
okay?
quite as tired, so they're putting up a little better fight, but,
I gotcha.
I
I
would
was
I
gonna,
would normally say yes.
I was just curious what you like, what you attribute that to this year. Was it something about this year, or just the?
Mine is two things. The density. Reed loves to sow seeds, and he sowed a high density, and it's at a low point where there's not a lot of air movement down next to
Mm,
this one section of the creek. So it's a micro pocket of high relative humidity. So density and humidity both have worked against us, and we don't spray anything on his little plots down there.
sure.
Um, so those are things that I saw coming out with all those rains. I was like, oh, here we go. So, but they've done pretty good. It's just here lately, there's little purple spots everywhere.
Yeah, w the humidity has been really bad, but I think that the really high temperatures from a disease standpoint have actually kind of worked in the favor
Hmm.
because even the disease shuts
Yeah,
down. But I think as soon as we go back into cool weather, a lot of those diseases are just dormant in the plant where they infected when
yeah.
it was, cool and wet. And so they're dormant right now. And then I think we're gonna see what feels like very rapid
Mhm.
disease take
Especially
over
if we have that nighttime moisture.
as
If
it
you're
cools
watering,
down.
yeah.
Hmm.
Especially if you have the nighttime moisture.
Yeah.
If we combine it with rains or irrigation at night, then I think you're right. We're going to see
Yeah.
a heavy late season disease pressures here. I
Mhm.
Yeah,
think
that was
it's
something we
going to
talked
be.
about in an earlier episode this year, as far as
Yeah.
disease control and prevention and stuff
Mhm.
like that. And just to briefly give that recap, that the diseases in their spore forms, or whatever, baby pre-emerged forms, get onto the plant, and they tend to thrive in that cooler weather, right? And then it gets hot and they go dormant, but they're still there, and then it gets cool and they come back and sort of thrive again. And
Vengeance.
Yeah, you all cued me into that, like, and just thinking of it in that way earlier this year on the podcast, and I was like, oh, that makes sense why it gets cooler and some of these needle blights and other things show up. It's like, oh, okay,
Mhm.
cool. Well,
Yeah,
I'm
if it
hopeful this
seems
year I got ahead of it in the spring, but we'll see.
if
Yeah.
it seems like it happens overnight, which is what we hear a lot, like, then it was infection that like, was reinvigorated basically with the cool weather.
Yeah.
But if it's something that kind of like, you're in the end of September or early October and you're seeing it, it was probably infected when it cooled
Yeah.
down the second time. But
And the
yeah,
way
so
to have intervened on that would have been to spray in the spring or to treat it in some way in the spring.
yeah, spraying in the spring, but if you're concerned about something and you're trying to push it a little bit longer, trying to get the couple last tomatoes, or you want your dahlias or your zinnias to push a little longer, spraying in the fall will either slow it down, or if you missed infection early because you planted later or something, then you're going to prevent infection in the fall. So there's
Mhm.
it's kind of a multifaceted thing there, but
Mhm.
uh,
And that's why you
yeah, I
planted
would
your zinnias late.
yeah, I put in I knew I didn't I put in some stuff for July for a specific event that I needed it for, but um the majority of my stuff in the summer annual category that we say, I waited I probably put them in 4 to 5 weeks later than normal. So they're just now really starting to bloom, and so they're at their like kind of strongest as we hit into this cool period.
Mhm.
But I am seeing that those few colors I planted early for my July event. So I planted them at a normal time, not early, normal time. I'm starting to see the signs of them slow down. So it's kind of neat to see,
Mhm.
you really can time them that way. And how a plant that is quote unquote tired is, just so much more susceptible to disease because they're in the rows 2 feet apart. You know what I mean? They're right there. They're experiencing the same things, but they missed the early window and they're just not as tired. And so that's a pretty cool thing. We could do a whole episode on maybe succession planting of whatever it is, like succession planting some veggies and stuff like that, just to keep them at their best, keep plants at their best.
Mm.
Yeah, we had some
That's
late
cool.
planted zinnias at the office, and they look fantastic. They're full sun, and
Mm.
the density is much lower, and they're beautiful. They're
That too.
they're thriving, and they're watered. We bottom water those in some large stock tank containers, and they look much better than our zinnias do at home. The early planted ones that were high density.
Hmm.
So yeah,
Hmm.
not so good. Not
So
so good.
So yeah, mostly I feel like I want in this episode my thing that I would like to get out to listeners is to take advantage of potentially a little more brain space to you know look over the Brett bringing up the records. Such a great point because it's sort of like we're in almost like a period time of winter right now with being inside. So like do your due diligence, go in there, see, and also at least from a flower farmer perspective, and I think that it's like this for a lot of different commercial growers. There's a lot of things that are going to come out of your bank account that you ordered in the spring that you're not getting until the fall. And so knowing what is in there, how much money you think you're going to make, and can you pay for all of those bulbs or all of those transplants or whatever that are about to come out. And so like going back through and saying, okay, in October, I really need to make sure there's $1,000 in there because my tulips are coming out, or whatever that looks like, is another thing. So take advantage of that. Order your cover crop seed. Order anything special that you really want to get your hands on for next year. Maybe just get in that small order of the things that sell out fast, and just sort of like mentally prepare yourself for the September, October madness that, that comes with, right before the first frost. So uh, it's always hectic. Spring is really hectic, but fall is hectic in almost like a different way because you're like the plants are slowing down, but you are not slowing down. Versus in the spring, I feel like your energies match, right? Like you're ramping up and the plants are ramping up, but it's not the same in the fall to me, at least
Sometimes
Yeah.
that's been my
tomatoes in the
experience.
ground, I just want to mow them down. I'm tired
Yeah.
of looking at you. I'm going to mow you down. You still have unripened fruit on your vine, but I am mowing
Yeah.
you down. Yeah, so I don't have
Yeah.
to look at it. This has been a good year, and I've been a point of emphasis the last 4 weeks. It being a wet spring, historically wet spring in Kentucky, is just encouraging, particularly homeowners. Commercial folks already do a pretty good job at this, but rotation. I'm using this as
Mm,
a kind of a teachable moment. Lots of disease pressure in home gardens in some cases, and so I've talked a lot about with individuals that call into our office. I'm really stressing rotation.
mhm,
Considering that where possible in home gardens. So, we've talked a lot about different crops and different families of plants and disease pressure and how that carries over from one year to the other. So that's been my takeaway for this season is, let's take a look at garden cleanup, sanitation, and then go ahead and get your rotation plan in place for next year.
mhm.
That's kind of
And if you don't know what that plan is, just write down where everything was on a sheet of paper so that you remember, and then you can figure that out in January when you're not as exhausted.
Yeah, I think that for me is the thing that I kind of the core of what I was saying is like you don't have to do all your record keeping
Mhm,
now, but you are at the unique point. So like if you are projecting things out, and making plans for a year from now, then that is you making plans that are happening way, way far away. Well, now
mhm,
you're 6 months in, you're closer to those plans, or maybe this is the year out, and now you are here in real time and you're able to not have to recall it from memory, but actually find it
mhm,
right there in front of you just to do that exact thing that you said. Write something down, make yourself a memory note. I always think of it
mhm.
as current Brett doing a favor for future Brett on whatever
Hell
thing it
yeah.
is. Of like, we had a
Yeah.
meeting or we talked about this, doing this thing. I'm going to write that down for
a little
future Brett
journaling.
whose memory is
Yeah.
not
You
good.
don't have to make decisions right now, but you need to
Exactly.
put the right information down so that when you need to make the decision, you feel comfortable with it.
Yeah, you're
Yeah,
able to
that's
collect
what
that
I
data
do.
for
Just
yourself right now. Do
yeah.
it, collect it.
Past you will just do it. Future you will thank you for it, and you'll be like, "Wow." I say that all the time. Thanks, past Alexis. I appreciate that.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, cool. Well, yeah, we hope you all enjoyed it. If you've got questions or thoughts about, well, what kind of cover crop do I get? Or what is the rotation again? Is it are tomatoes and eggplants in the same family? Whatever that looks like, you can feel free to shoot us an email. You can find that in the show notes. Don't forget, we have a Gmail now, so that one's new, but it does come directly to all of us. We will have next episode. We should have our fourth podcast member back on. So we're excited to have Jessica back
Woohoo!
with us. So, if you've not been listening and you just happen to jump on this episode, and you're waiting for her to come back, she is coming back. We have not kicked her out. We love her so much. But we're excited to have her with us again. Follow us on Instagram at hortculturepodcast. Leave us a review. That's really great. It helps the algorithm, lets people know where to find us. And we pop up on other people's feeds, so it seems silly, but it is actually very helpful. And every time I say this, I go try and leave a podcast review for another podcast because I feel like that's good karma. But we thank you all for being here with us today, and we hope you join us next time. Have a great one.